Welcome to the Self-Service Generation podcast, where we explore how technology impacts, improves, and enables the customer experience that we all expect from businesses and organizations that we engage or work with. Don't worry, we only keep it to 20 minutes, so hopefully you'll find it interesting. Thanks very much.
Welcome to the Self-Service Generation podcast with me, Gavin.
And me, Steve. How are you doing today, Gav?
I am doing okay. I'm managing. I'm coping with everything that's going on, which is the most important thing. I've got another location today, which is nice. So I'm calling out of warmer than expected Romania.
Oh, right. Yeah, very exotic.
Here for a week.
Warmer than expected, because we are December and it's
supposed to be pretty cold. So I got told that I would need to have layers under my layers.
Yeah.
And I'm at the point now is my under layer is now my over layer because it's not as cold. So
Oh, is it? So what is it, like, 8-10 degrees or something?
Well, today it's cold. So yeah, 8-10, but today it's between 4 and 0. So it is still pretty cold today, but it's comparative to what it's been like in the UK.
Yeah,
everyone here is saying it's warm for this time of year.
Oh wow, mad. Yeah. That's crazy for that area, because Czech, we speak to a lot of guys in Prague, and they was mad freezing over there, and you're in the similar geography, so wow, that's warm for there, isn't it?
It's quite pleasant. So I think people, although I'm also quite warm-bodied as well, so I think quite a lot of people look at me questioning kind of why I'm wearing like very little. But I do make the joke that I did walk up Snowdon in shorts and a t-shirt. So I'm a bit.
You're one of those, are you? You're one of those.
Yeah. But anyway, so today we're going to explore. I think we said in the last podcast we looked at how we could utilize AI to unlock creativity, and we wanted to try and look at some different angles and different uses for this technology. And we thought today would be a really good opportunity to talk about how we could use things like ChatGPT in a home environment, and also do some comparisons with Microsoft's CoPilot. And so because this is for everybody really. It's I think a lot of the things we talk about can be very specific to different business types, whereas there's opportunities for to use this technology in the home to try and streamline the way that you're working or improve home life. So that's what we wanted to explore.
Yeah, it's kind of, the thing is with this, it's a lot of people I introduce it to still haven't used it, don't really know. It doesn't work in their business role, or they really aren't really aware of it, how to engage with it. But there's a couple of big moves that Microsoft, who are obviously invested quite heavily into OpenAI. They are the investors in OpenAI essentially, but they're the money and the resources for that project, and of course they're then leveraging that in their own product range, and Bing being one of the big ones. And a lot of people don't use Bing because it's Google has always been predominant. But what they've done is they've introduced chat into the Bing search engine, but what they've also done in their Edge browser, so that's Microsoft's own browser rather than using Chrome, they've got a CoPilot on this side of Edge built in, and that particularly is very, very useful. So there's lots of ways of engaging with the GPT, but they're different, so it's not the same. It gives you different kind of results, but equally they have their space, and have their area. But I think this is starting to become the future of search, which is really interesting. And this is huge stuff for for both Google to keep an eye on and how they work, because their revenue engine is massively around pay-per-click, but also their Bing is going to have its own revenue stream from the same thing. So monetizing this is going to be interesting.
It's interesting because what we're seeing is we're potentially seeing one of the biggest players in search starting to have to relook and refocus their efforts, because one of the, I'm not going to be careful what I say, but the old guard have come in and actually started shaking things up and doing something which is basically world changing to some extent in regards to how you potentially can go about doing stuff. And I think lots of organizations struggle with that. They kind of, organizations that become leaders kind of fall and then start falling behind, but it's those that can kind of start looking at adapting their service and adapting their offering and continue innovating, then create the opportunities. And I think that's what they've done here with what they're doing with CoPilot and embedding this AI element into their search and creating that kind of richer experience.
CoPilot's a big thing. I mean, CoPilot is also in the operating system for Windows now as well. So it's got a much wider operation. But we could talk all day about stuff on that side of things. But I think the direct comparison with what we're getting with straight ChatGPT out of OpenAI and their extended service, if you like, for Edge and how you search and how you use the chat part of that is an interesting comparison. So that's kind of where we're looking at. But I suppose we start off. I mean, you've been looking around at different ideas.
I mean, I've been using it since it's kind of came out. I've been using it as much as I have for work as I have for home anyway. So I've been trying to use. I've quite liked using it in that way. But there's obviously a few examples I've come up with where there's things that I probably haven't fully utilized yet. But one of the first things I'm really interested in storytelling.
Yeah.
And I built a few things early on in regards to, like, you used to have those books where you'd read them and they say go to this number.
Oh yeah, the adventure books.
The adventure books.
Yeah.
So when it launched, public launched, I basically hooked into their API and built my own version, but using AI as the background mechanism for doing the next steps. So you prompt it with a story. I don't know, you're a space ninja whose ship is damaged. You're floating through space. A planet is nearby, and what do you do? And rather than having these prompts, you basically can pick anything your brain can imagine as the next steps. And then with a little bit of assisted prompting in regards to the different directions, you can then create a story out of it. And every story you'd be able to get back would be dynamic and different. But when you bring this into a kind of a home environment, my son went to a trip to the zoo. And I was thinking about bedtime stories, and I was like, what would be really cool is if I can read him a bedtime story which is relevant to him, but also has some sort of moral element to it. So I asked ChatGPT to go, look, can you generate me a short story for bedtime that has a 6-year-old boy as the main character, and can there be messages around, I don't know, confidence and bravery as part of the story? And boom, 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 quickly it generated me this lovely story about a trip to the zoo and about this boy that showed bravery. Now, for many people who might not have the ability and the ability to just generate stories off the fly, it's a brilliant tool and resource to be able to have something which can really resonate with a child in that environment. And you can when you're a bit stuck for something as a story. Can you come up with a story? You're knackered from a day at work. Your brain's not fully there. You're like, call up the AI overlords to give you a little bit of a helping hand.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, the thing is, the only thing then you've got to do is do the voices.
So he hates the voices. That's the thing. He's kind of like, just normal voice, please, normal voice. I'm like, okay,
stop doing the voice, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. I've cracked out so many different voices as well. I thought it's my specialty. I thought he'd love it, but no, apparently not.
I'm nailing it. I'm nailing it. I'm nailing this. I'm doing it. It's brilliant.
I mean, I'm not going to stretch to getting it to read it out to me, which I guess I could do, because that kind of loses a little bit too much of it. It takes over a little bit too much, but I'm happy to read it.
That's too lazy, mate. That's going a step too far. I think you're stretching on the point of the bad parenting now. You're going down bad parenting routes. What do you do? I put a robot in the room and that just does it. I don't care anymore.
I've seen the Megan series, the Megan film on TV. I'm not scared. I'm not there yet. I'm happy to.
Not trusting you that much.
Exactly. But it's a really good example of one of those things which is fairly simple. But actually can have quite a big impact for a young child to have a story that's really going to resonate with them.
Yeah, and again, that's touching on the last thing that we were talking about, which is the creativity bit. But this is now, look, it's not it's not super important creativity that's going to be criticized enormously.
Yeah.
You're not trying to publish this into the world, although we know there's people have.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of fun, and it's a really nice use of it, because you're going to get variety in that.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I know that kids, they want the bedtime stories, and they'll want the same one again and again and again and
Yeah.
again.
But
Which
it's
is
on the list.
interesting.
It's on the list. I can come back to it if I need to.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Absolutely. Yeah. So you can
Yeah.
do that. Yeah, you can do that.
Or I can get to create a secondary story, which is a follow-on story, utilizing that existing story as a reference
You're
point.
getting into sequels and prequels now, eh?
Next level.
The origin stories and things like that.
Yeah. But it's one of what did I do the other day? He wanted me to. He said, I don't want a story. I want jokes.
Oh, right.
So I went in and asked it to do. And I think it was jokes on farm. I think it was jokes on farmyard animals or something like that. Now I think farm jokes for kids. So yeah, so I asked it to do. I think it has to do 5, and then it's 5. What do you call a sleeping bull? A bulldozer. You know. I mean, what do you get if you cross a robot and a tractor? A transformer. Like there's loads of them in there. And then you ask it to generate some. You kind of ask it to kind of generate 5 more, and it's just something that's a little bit of fun, isn't it? In regards to kind of being able to do something a little bit different. And yeah, not really there from a full utility standpoint in regards to it's not going to revolutionize your life, but it's the opportunity to kind of add that little bit of a change to the bedtime routine.
Yeah, it will absolutely, and it is, like you said, it is difficult. We've all got busy lives, and you do dinner, and then it's time for bed, and then you just go, I haven't really sat down since I come home from work, and it's that kind of thing. But nobody's suffering in that regard then, because you've just
Yeah,
got a little bit of interest, because
yeah,
this is all we're trying to do. Trying to get the kids involved with stories and
yeah.
think about things, and just go, yeah, jokes. We're all right. We'll rock some jokes out. And it's not a bad thing. They might not be the greatest jokes in the world, but they're just a bit of fun, and everybody understands that, really,
Better
even
than
the
most of
kid.
mine. If if I was going to come stuff on the fly, I think definitely it wouldn't be as good.
No, they'd be poor. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Oh well, never
But
mind. I suppose in a slightly more adult fashion, I was having a look at kind of, say, DIY stuff and things like that. Again, great things to do, and did something simple like, how do I create a bookshelf? And this comparison. So I did it in both CoPilot and
okay,
ChatGPT. So the difference between them is ChatGPT actually gave me the instructions, and this is how you can build a shelf, and gave me like steps and all that type of stuff. So I was definitive, this is how you do it, which was really helpful. But it was kind of one idea, if you like. And I
yeah,
could have asked it to do another idea. No, that's no good. Give me something that uses, recyclable materials or something, like upcycle stuff, whatever I wanted to do with that. But then I went to CoPilot and did the same question. And what CoPilot does, so this is where it elements into search, is it gave me results of what it had found, i.e., this has got ideas about how to do shelves. This has got ideas about how to do a bookshelf. This has got another idea, but with summaries of what's on that page, so that it had summarized the page. So rather than, and we've all used search a lot. You keep having to go look. There's the little header meta tag stuff that they pull
yeah,
back from the page, but it's never current and it's never right. It's usually to do with SEO or something like that. So it's not really what you want to see. It's what they want you to see. But actually, this pulls back a summary of what's on the page. So going, yeah, it's got several ideas, and it focuses around using pallets to make a bookshelf. This one says something else. And that is hugely different, because then you've got somewhere to go
yeah,
to give you maybe much more detailed instructions, or some visuals on it, and
yeah.
just go, this is what it can look like.
We all know my viewpoint on reading. Any pictures are always welcome.
Yeah, well, exactly. And that's the limitation, because it's very text-based at the moment. GPT is ChatGPT. It can do some images, but they're kind of dolly stuff and things like that. So it won't bring you internet pictures back. But where they've done with the CoPilot in Edge is that now is or CoPilot you can get in a browser. It's now giving you the instructions like you would expect from GPT, but it can draw images from the internet and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I also asked it for videos on how to do this, and it went and got a load of videos, from YouTube and all the rest of it. So, you can then, it gives you a better summary of what you're about to click on and saves a lot of time in that process. And that bit is the bit that I thought, well, that was actually quite useful, because I don't necessarily want to follow the one that just GPT gave me. Is their generative, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
I want to look at some ideas. I want to see some, like I said, pictures and what it is.
That's the thing, isn't it?
So
Understanding the context and going, actually, if you like with GPT, it's going to go, well, this is what you've asked for.
yeah,
But with Copilot, it's that understanding of actually this is what you've asked for, but really you're probably going to need more than that to actually do what you want to do. So here is
yeah,
the links, because it's all right, someone saying put this bit of wood against this bit of wood at this point. It's kind of you're into kind of communications training at that point, and everyone's shelves then end up looking completely different because everyone reads the
yeah,
instructions in a different way. Whereas having those extra visual cues or whatever to support that kind of how to is going to get you a better result.
yeah, very much so. So what it's doing is that it's actually giving us a kind of a balance of information, but with that expansion that you can come out of it. Because GPT is great and it gives you these summaries, and like we're talking about stories and all that type of stuff, that's great. And it gives you a little thing, and it's maybe, 1,000 words long or whatever it is. And that's great. But this is totally different in the way that you then start still using the internet, which has got much more information on it, and still summarizing little bits of it. So, and then giving you a choice. So what it's doing is it's very much in this, well, it's called Copilot. It's a collaborative thing, rather than it just being, this is how it is, and this is, I can do a different version of this if you want to. And that can become painful in its own right. But I quite like the fact that the collaborative bit goes, well, here's a bunch. And I go, don't like that. I don't like the sound of that, the top three, but that fourth one looks quite good. Let me have a look at that one. Whereas I might have had to go through 1, 2, 3 before I'd got to 4 in a normal search engine environment. To go, oh, this is more like it. This is the one I want.
That's what you need. Yeah. It is useful kind of looking at those tools and those ways of utilizing it for that to kind of the more practical day-to-day uses.
Yeah.
I was looking at meal planning, and something is a really good example of that, especially when you've got things like dietary requirements where you can kind of go, okay, I need a plan for the week. I don't like X, Y, and Z, and I want it to be healthy, and also I can't cook, so can you make it easy for me? So it gives you that kind of, I don't know, for where it kind of gives you that plan, like 5-day plan for all the meals. And then I did a test between Copilot and ChatGPT, and I said, can you also give me a shopping list based on the fact I'll shop in Sainsbury's, for example? Other supermarkets are available. And it's interesting in regards to how they both handled that. So with ChatGPT, it gave me the shopping list. It didn't give me any measurements, but it gave me the shopping list in aisle order.
Yes.
So all the whole of the list was in the order on the aisle. Now, I don't know if anyone has made a shopping list. We have a tendency to create a list based off what we want.
Yeah.
And then it's a kind of a case of shuffling through the list to work out, okay, if I've got that, I'm in the right place.
Oh, blooming it. I forgot the potatoes because they're at the bottom of the list and the rest of the veggies at the top. Yeah.
Back across the other side of the shop. But Copilot did it completely differently. It gave me the whole list just as one list, but it gave me the measurements of what I needed.
Yeah.
So like I almost want a mixture between the two. Like I want to know which I want to order in the aisle, but also the measurements based on the recipes that we've got there to make sure I can get the right portions in place. But
I think that's more of a user error. Because if you wanted that, then you pre-prompted to go and give me the measurements of how much I need for the recipes.
Yeah, this is true. So basically, based on when we did our conversation on specifically building our own GPTs, what you're saying is I need to make sure I pre-prompt it to make sure that it gives me all the detail, make sure it creates the detail and it gives me enough detail to be able to do the things I want.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can actually go and get everything you want in that list, and the menu and the thing, and
Yeah,
the recipes and how-tos for those
yeah.
things as well. So you can do all that stuff.
And, and,
That's really useful.
and on the flip side, you could literally just go in and say, these are the things I've got in my cupboard.
Yeah.
Like, surprise me. Like, what amazing thing can I make with all these things that are in my cupboard?
Baked beans and
Uh,
sardines, that kind of thing.
and
Yeah,
it'll be baked beans and pasta and cheese.
that's right. Yeah. That
That's probably full on like
yeah.
high calorie like
Maybe we
student
should
meal.
expand your diet a little bit more,
Yeah, I am the king of beige. That is king of beige food. That is part of the challenge.
All right, yeah.
Sandwiches,
Please help
pasties,
me.
and turnovers.
Yeah. What healthy item can I add to my cupboard to make my diet more varied?
Yeah, they're just basically suggesting I eat more lettuce or cucumbers. I don't know. But even if you
Yeah.
add carrot into the mix, it still carries on that beige gradient. So it's kind of it's not always necessarily
Right,
beneficial.
okay. All right. Well, moving on from your dietary requirements and my concern about the lack of fiber you're probably getting in your diet.
To be fair, it's lunchtime here, so it's like it's naturally I'm going to be thinking about food.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah, you're 2 hours ahead, aren't you? Well, look, I suppose the point is that there are lots of different items. I mean, I was looking around, and there's loads of items for using GPT at home. And again, we've touched on a few, but we're talking about exercise regime, doing some getting a meditation advice or something like that. So much more well-being stuff, and it will go and get. So the difference between the two, one will go and direct you to, here's a load of pages that might have the right thing for you. And then
Yeah,
another one's going to go, well, this is how you do this,
yeah.
and the use case for each is different. So you might go, look, I just want
Just tell
a
me what to do.
meditation exercise. Give me
Yeah,
one for 10 minutes meditation exercise. And it'll
yeah,
give you that straight out if you say OpenAI,
yeah,
or if you just ask the CoPilot straight without it looking on the internet. And those things are different ways of doing that. So you can
yeah,
get generative working for you, or you might want different exercise regimes to come from the internet. So you'd look at the videos, the how-tos and stuff like that. So making sure you do the exercise properly and stuff like that. There's loads of different ideas. Gardening was another area as well. Stuff like that. We searched the internet for gardening stuff anyway. Because
yeah.
you kind of do. Was this going to fit in where my east facing garden or whatever it is? So you might pluck that type of stuff out. But expanding on that
Yeah.
is actually really useful.
I haven't even thought about like plant recommendations. I haven't
Yeah.
tested. I'm 100% going to be testing that. Like,
Yeah, I
I've got.
thought of that.
I'm living
And
in this
again,
house
just
in
as we're
in my
talking,
living
I'm
room.
thinking about it. Just as
Yeah,
so, because the ideas are so wide and varied. I'm thinking I've got a patch that I need to do something with,
yeah.
and I don't really know what to put in it. And
It
of
gets
course, then
sun
that
this
gives
much
you
time
the
of the day.
ideas.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a really good shout. I'm just going to end up buying more plants. I think I worked out the other day. I have 38 plants in my house, and that's not including
in your
anything that's in the
house, like
in my house.
household hat plants.
Household plants. That's not including anything in the fish tanks. That's purely just actual potted plants.
Wow, I haven't counted
So
mine. I've got quite a few plants, but I don't think I've got 38. I'm just looking around now.
it's just I'm like a collector. Like, yeah. Welcome
Yeah.
to the jungle. Kind of deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. I'm definitely gonna have a look at that because it's just you have a room and sometimes you buy plants and they die and you're like, yeah, maybe I
Right.
put that in the wrong place. Otherwise, or you probably could ask it, say that my coffee plant is getting this funny coloration on the leaves. What could potentially be wrong? And doing that
Yeah.
kind of diagnosis. So all the things that we ultimately, none of us are botanists or whatever the phrase is for plant specialists. So
Yeah.
we need those extra
Honest
little bit of help.
plantsman. Yeah.
Thanks,
But
man.
but that but that, this is it, and this is kind of going, well, whatever fits in your life, there's usually a way of using this. Not it's going to take over anything. Not it's just going to be this collaborative support to go. Can you just do this quickly? Because I haven't got time.
Yeah,
Time's always poor, or I need some inspiration to start me off. And it might not, you go, I've got this patch, I want to plant stuff in it. I've got no idea what to do with it. And then it'll go, well, here you go. This is a bunch of ideas. You go, well, I like those. Oh, I don't like that one, whatever that is.
Yeah.
You know, and this is, so you mod it because you go, well, I can still make my choice. You know, I'm not driven by this thing.
Yeah. It's not
But
telling
I've
me.
got that. I've got a few ideas. You know, and that,
Yeah.
I think that works really well. You know?
So we've been doing a really good job, really, haven't we? We've gone, you know, if you've got kids, you can do bedtime stories. If you like to eat, you can make a plan for food.
If you like to eat, I think, well, it's usually a requirement. We can't avoid food.
Yeah, but it could be just a case you just put stuff in your mouth, you don't really worry about it, or it could be a case that you want to actually ask for some like more exotic options, maybe. You know,
We were talking about your beige diet a minute ago, weren't we?
Yeah, so I might need to have some more fanciful options. And
Yeah.
DIY help around the house with options, but also plan garden. Anyone who's into gardening, getting that extra bit of support and guidance and making sure you're choosing the right plants. So there's loads of options there, and there's so much more. Even go into GPT yourself and ask, what can you do for me in my home? Would offer you loads of opportunities and recommendations.
Yeah, and it'll, you know, come back with all sorts. You know, and what you do with the GPT, and again, we've talked about kind of how you use it in some regard, but you know, you keep having the conversation to fine tune what it's giving you back, and that's the way to use it. So it'll go, I've given you this straight out of the bat, and you've asked you a very short question, but we were talking about pre-prompting earlier. You know, God, I want the measurements, I want this. Well, you just keep asking then, and it'll reiterate the same thing with the extra information that you wanted, or you deep dive into part of it, and that's how you'd have a conversation like you would have with somebody. Okay, so give me the recipe for that one then. That looks interesting. It will then give you a recipe for that, and that's the way to use it very, you know, efficiently, if you like. So
what I need now is I need it to know what's in my cupboards and know what it's in my fridge.
Yeah.
And then it'll be able to tell me what I need to buy and what's
Okay, well,
there's
probably IoT cupboards out there. There's certainly fridges. So you just need to connect it up so it knows what's in there. You know, all possible. There's API connections into GPT. That's not a problem at all. You know, so best of luck with setting that up anyway.
That's not for the everyday
That sounds
user.
like a bigger job than just keeping a note of what you've got.
Yeah, or looking.
Or looking. The
eyes
looking stuff. You are trying to remove the whole of the human interaction into your
house.
Or any sort of diet thing, cooking. I've noticed now, you know, I'm just getting a better sense of where you're at with this. So hate food, but I have to have it. AI, deal with it for me, thank you.
Yeah, well, I've gone to the point now of having shakes for lunch to stop me going to the shops and buying an obscene amount of sweet goods and sweet treats, because it's dangerous. Me taking a trip to the shop is expensive.
Dangerous.
For me.
Don't go shopping when you're hungry.
Both body and wallet. So although I haven't brought my shakes with me, so you know I'll probably put on a little bit of weight when I'm here.
Yeah, but when you're in Romania, because that's where you are now, you will not know what you're looking at anyway.
This is true.
Because all the labels will be in Romanian. So you'll be going, I have no idea. Just give me a pie.
So you say that. I've been using Google Lens to translate all the labels for me.
Oh, have you? Yeah.
So take a picture, get it to translate. I was trying to find what was it? Bubble bath. No, bubble bath. I don't know what's going on.
Why bubble bath?
Because I've got a bath. And there's no bubble bath.
Okay. All right, I'm not going into any more detail on that. I don't think anybody, if we do have any listeners, I don't think they want to be interested in your ablutions and any more detail. I think we're getting into a different type of podcast altogether.
But if there is anyone listening from Premier Inn, you can't sell yourself as being a place of comfort, offer a nice big bath, and not offer bubble bath. I'm sorry.
No, I thought they'd have those, you know, the little bottles and everything that you always come away with.
That's the thing. They've got the plungers nearby, so it could easily just modify the plunger to go into the bath, but it's just shampoo and body wash. So I want bubble bath. That's a different.
Yeah, again, this is we're down to your bathroom routines now, and you know, I think we need to sign off before we get any deeper into it.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
So
do you know what I probably could do? I could probably get ChatGPT to tell me how to make bubble bath.
look, we need to move on. I'm just saying, right? We need to move
Everyone
on.
needs to get on with their day-to-day jobs and not listen to our
That's
ramblings.
right. That's right. Right.
Oh, brilliant.
Anyway, well, thank you for that intimate detail of what's going on in your life at the moment. I'm sure everybody was fascinated, and probably the most interesting part of the podcast. But hopefully, it was interesting in general, and people enjoyed it. And it's our last podcast of the year, 23. So we'll be doing more in the new year, and keeping up with technology where we can, and how it kind of assists us and works with us, because that's the whole thing. AI is an assistive thing. It should be anyway.
Without making our lives easier and allowing us to self-serve as much as possible.
Absolutely. Nice. Bringing in the title of the podcast. No, well done. That's good. All right. Thanks very much, everybody. I'll speak to you soon.
Everybody. Cheers. Thanks, Steve.
Cheers. Bye, mate. Thanks for listening to the Self-Service Generation podcast. We hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting. Look out for more in the series, where we take deep dives around specific challenges in this space. Until next time.